Coming up on this episode, other moves the Golden State Warriors would need to make, or at least consider making if they're serious about signing LeBron James in free agency this offseason. Welcome back to the Golden State with Mates podcast. Hope you've all had a good weekend. It's been about 4 or 5 days since Stevie Ray and I recorded an hour-long episode going through the state of the Warriors right now. And we started that off by talking about LeBron James. And I think by the end of it, both of us came to the understanding, I think everyone comes to the understanding that even if the Warriors do manage to sign LeBron James in free agency in about a month or so, just under a month's time, this is not a team that is going to be a true title contender, particularly in the Western Conference with the likes of the Oklahoma City Thunder and the San Antonio Spurs. So what else do the Warriors need to do, I suppose, if they're serious about signing LeBron? And this is something the Warriors will already have to consider. Like, if they are serious about pursuing LeBron James, they are going to, part of their pitch to him is going to be, this is the other stuff we're going to do, the other moves we're going to make sure that we put a team around you and Steph that does have a chance of competing in the Western Conference, even if it's just a puncher's chance, even if you're a 10% shot to take down the Spurs or the Thunder, giving yourself some kind of opportunity. And that starts with actually getting through a long regular season. Let's look at a few different things here. I want to start with Anthony Davis, where we're still weeks away from free agency, and the idea of signing LeBron James remains just that, yet we're already getting proposals of the Warriors potentially trading for Anthony Davis if they're to sign LeBron, and actually going out and pursuing an AD trade first to try and further convince LeBron of joining the Warriors this offseason. So this certainly goes hand in hand. There's absolutely no doubt about that. We know the history between LeBron and AD from the Lakers, where they spent nearly 6 years together, won a title, obviously, in the bubble in 2020. Bill Simmons, I suppose, was the first to really bring this up on a recent podcast episode he did, where he basically suggested the Warriors trade Jimmy Butler and a 2027 first-round pick for Anthony Davis, and then obviously sign LeBron afterwards. The timing of this doesn't really matter, I suppose. Like, the Warriors could trade for AD first, but if they do that, it's going to be under the presumption that they sign LeBron. Alternatively, they could sign LeBron, make sure that is locked in first and foremost, and then trade for AD later. And this is really the interesting aspect to me of all this is, like, would you trade Jimmy Butler if you sign LeBron James? One, because the fit between LeBron, Jimmy, and Draymond doesn't particularly work too well. And if Draymond opts out and renegotiates a new deal that allows LeBron to come in for agency, then clearly Draymond's not trade eligible, at least until mid-season or December 15 or whatever it is. So I would think that if the Warriors sign LeBron, that makes them more likely to trade Jimmy for a different piece, a piece that can obviously play for them at the start of the season, and also someone that might be a better fit. And obviously AD has that history of playing with LeBron. Now, I don't love the fit necessarily of LeBron, Draymond, and AD. But in this whole scenario, and I said this on the episode I did with Stevie Ray 4 or 5 days ago, that Draymond's going to have to come off the bench if LeBron signs with the Warriors. I just think that's an absolute given necessity, because the fit just between those two guys, disregard everybody else, the fit between those two guys, again, as much as Draymond might play a key role in recruiting LeBron to the Warriors, on the court, it's a bit tricky. Like, there's no doubt about it. The spacing concerns are there. The fact that both kind of need the ball in their hands. You've got Steph over there as well, who's obviously going to need the ball in his hands, albeit he can obviously play off the ball perfectly as well. And the fit between him and LeBron should be spectacular. And we saw that at the Paris Olympics in 2024 on their way to a gold medal. But Draymond, I think, would have to come off the bench. So to me, it would be a front court of LeBron, insert like a stretch forward type, like a shooting forward who can add some spacing between LeBron and AD, and then have AD at center, which would then, I'm assuming, allow you to let Porzingis walk. I don't know what kind of flexibility that necessarily opens you up to. Would you actually consider re-signing Porzingis and having Porzingis and Anthony Davis? They are probably the two most injury-prone big men in the league, at least of notable big men who have been all-stars in the past, and who still, it must be said, and this is the thing about Anthony Davis, when he's on the floor, the dude's excellent, right? Like, the dude is still a very good NBA player and an all-star caliber player when he's on the floor. The issue is, I think he's played like 29 games since he was traded by the Lakers last year in that blockbuster Luka deal. So the dude never plays. In saying that, the Warriors technically would be getting more availability, or should be, because AD should be available to start the season, as opposed to Jimmy Butler, who is likely to miss at least half of next season and won't be back until the 2027 calendar year, we don't think. And that's the thing, is like, the Warriors want to get younger, they want more availability, but they actually get that by trading Jimmy Butler for Anthony Davis. As weird as that sounds, trading Jimmy Butler for Anthony Davis makes you younger. It feels weird, but it's just reality that Anthony Davis is nearly 4 years younger than Jimmy Butler. You would have thought they were like both about the same age, because I think Jimmy's aged a lot more gracefully and hasn't had the same level of injury concerns as AD, albeit Jimmy does have a bit of an injury history and now he's coming off this torn ACL. But there's nearly a 4-year age difference between those two players. And then, of course, AD should at least theoretically be available to start next season. There's already been rumors of Anthony Davis being a trade candidate again this summer, despite the fact that he's yet to play a game for the Washington Wizards after they acquired him from the Mavericks before the trade deadline. It would be a bit weird to me that the Wizards would then just turn around and trade Anthony Davis before he even plays a game for the franchise. But we know the contract extension part of this, and the fact that's going to be a very complicated aspect of what the Wizards are going to do with him, and also obviously any team that potentially has interest in AD. Like, you'd be going to Rich Paul and his management saying, okay, what does an extension look like? Because there's no way we're giving you even 3 or 4 year max. We're not giving you the max at all. We're not even giving you a 1 year max, and we're certainly not giving you a multi-year max. So you'd have to, it's basically similar to the Jimmy trade to the Warriors, where an extension kind of is worked through before the trade is even finalized, because you can't finalize the trade until you actually understand what an extension looks like. And that's obviously going to impact the kind of value you're willing to give up in a trade. But obviously, from a salary matching standpoint, Jimmy, for any of these stars making big money, makes a lot of sense, whether it's AD, whether it's Kawhi, whether it's insert whatever other player you want. And if LeBron James, if the Warriors are serious about signing LeBron, and if LeBron signs with the Warriors, I mean, we're already getting speculation and rumors of the Warriors being interested in AD if LeBron signs. Well, if that's no longer an if, and LeBron does actually sign with Golden State, you know the speculation and the rumors of an AD trade is just going to go through the roof. I saw Bleacher Report propose a trade, which I think had the Warriors giving up the 11th pick and also a pick swap in 2030. I'm not sure what the pick swap really entails, because the Wizards have actually got the Warriors pick between its top 20 protected. I would just disregard the 2030 pick swap. I would be doing what Simmons proposed and giving them a 2027 first round pick. I just don't see, Anthony Davis is still a very good player, but combine the injury history with the contract extension discussions and the issues and complications around that, there's just not much value there in that guy, which is exactly why, if I'm the Wizards, I'm probably just holding on to him. Like, he's yet to play a game for me. I'm probably just holding on to him. But I could understand why the Warriors in that scenario would say, all right, here's our 2027 first round pick, no protections. So theoretically, the Wizards could look at this and say, this is going to be a very star-studded team, but an incredibly old, injury-prone one. And if things go terribly, like we basically just saw this past season, then they could finish 9th, 10th, 11th in the Western Conference. And with the flattening of the lottery odds, suddenly that could legitimately become a top 3, top 5 pick for us. Maybe the number 1 overall pick. And so with the Wizards, who, yes, want to get better next season, but I don't think anyone's looking at them as, oh, they're going to take a spike up the Eastern Conference and suddenly be a top 5 team in the East, for example. So would they look at it and say, okay, we're still going to have Trae Young, we're going to bring in one of the big name prospects in this upcoming draft. Could we go get another asset rather than just having Anthony Davis help us win games? Like, where's that ultimately leading us to? It's probably getting us to maybe the play-in kind of thing. Maybe if everything clicks and goes well, maybe it gets us to this 7th or 8th seed in the East. But what's the point of that if we could just take a risk on the Warriors 2027 first round pick? And if you're Golden State and you've got Anthony Davis, Steph Curry, Draymond Green, LeBron James, obviously, Al Horford, Brandon Podziemski, Moses Moody comes back at some point, you're probably going to be fairly confident if you sign LeBron that other dudes are probably going to come on the minimum. Other pretty decent, valuable role players are going to come on the minimum, and you're going to be able to fill out your roster pretty well. You also get you keep your 11th overall pick, so that's a dude that could come in and contribute for you right away. Basically, what you're saying is we're going to be stacked enough that even having to rest and manage guys throughout the regular season, we're still confident that we are going to be a playoff team, essentially. And that pick that we give up to the Wizards in an Anthony Davis, Jimmy Butler swap is not going to be a lottery one, essentially. And it's going to wind up as, let's say, what happened with the Jimmy Butler trade, where it's pick 20 or pick 18 to 20. And therefore, if you're giving up pick 18 to 20 and Jimmy Butler for Anthony Davis, I actually think that's probably worthwhile, because at least with AD, yes, there's still some spacing concerns with the trio of him, LeBron, and Draymond. Again, Draymond would come off the bench, but at least in that scenario, you've got a center and a dude that's actually going to protect the rim for you in Anthony Davis. The issue with Jimmy, LeBron, and Draymond is that none of those guys should be playing center at this point in their career. And therefore, how do you fit those three guys on the floor and a center with them? That just would be incredibly difficult, I think. So at least with AD and a trio of him, LeBron, and Draymond, at least you've got a legitimate 6'10", 6'11" center, one of the best defensive players in the league when he's up and going. Again, health, injury concerns, I know, but I could understand the idea of it, of trading Jimmy Butler and your 27 pick, which you hope conveys as something outside the lottery for Anthony Davis. I know, it's interesting. Let me know what you guys think of AD. Is that a move you would make to reunite LeBron and AD on the Warriors? It would certainly be a blockbuster two-part move, but one that's certainly, I think, going to raise even further into the trade rumors and speculation that we've already seen if LeBron James ultimately signs with the Warriors. And of course, if we see an AD Jimmy Butler trade before then that basically just paints a picture that LeBron is signing with the Warriors in free agency. So the timing of that doesn't really matter too much. The timing of the draft is a lot different when it comes to LeBron James and potentially signing with the Warriors in free agency. I think it's very easy for us to sit here and say, LeBron James is 41 years old. By the end of this calendar year, he'll be 42 years old. There is no way a dude that is that old, regardless of who it is, should be impacting what the Warriors do with a very valuable lottery pick at number 11 in the draft later this month. There's absolutely no way he should be impacting that. However, I'm sorry to say, it kind of does. It kind of does. And hear me out here. If the Warriors sign LeBron and they don't trade Jimmy and they've still got Jimmy, and they go and they Al Horford, and they bring back Porzingis, and Al Horford picks up his player option, and Draymond re-signs on a new deal, suddenly you've got just so many, like, you're even older, you got so many old guys who are going to have to be managed and who are going to have injury concerns throughout a long regular season. And you just need to pray and hope that you can get those guys to the playoffs somewhere close to full health, right? And so what do you need in that scenario? Well, you need wing forward types who will be able to log considerable minutes during the regular season, right? That is what you're going to need. A guy like Guy Santos, for example, yes, you could say LeBron coming in could impact him straight away because maybe he doesn't have a starting role anymore or something like that. But he's still going to play huge minutes during the regular season because these dudes just aren't going to be healthy and are going to have to be managed throughout it. So I think if the Warriors get a sense that they have a real chance at LeBron, if I'm Yaxel Lindenborg, that makes me feel a lot more confident, and it makes it a lot clearer to me that the Warriors would draft him 11th overall. Because this is a dude that's going to be 24 years old by the time next season starts, that is going to be one of the most ready to go contributors who can contribute to winning straight away in the league. We know what he did with Michigan this past season, leading them to the national championship. Lindenborg is already a player that is in genuine consideration for the Warriors at the 11th overall pick, because you've got Steph Curry there, because you've still got the Steph Curry timeline of him being 38. If you add LeBron James to that timeline and now you've got a Steph-LeBron duo, you're basically signaling, okay, we want to try and give ourselves a chance to have one more real shot at this, which is exactly why you might go and trade Jimmy and make a move there. But in the draft, that's a signal to me that, hey, let's go and get a dude that can play straight away, because with all these old guys, we are going to need guys who will have to play big minutes and dudes that can fill in. And a guy like Yaxel Lindenborg could come in, and yes, the Warriors might have all these future Hall of Famers, Jimmy Butler, LeBron James, Draymond Green, Al Horford, Kristaps Porzingis, maybe not a Hall of Fame, but you know what I mean? That, like, they might have this star-studded front court, and yet the age and injury concerns means that Lindenborg might come in and average 20-plus minutes a game in his rookie year and might actually even have to start like half the season because of all the injury and availability issues. So I just have a hard time believing that the Warriors would think, yeah, we're going to sign LeBron James and we're also going to draft like Nate Ament or another prospect who we think is probably going to take 2 years before he becomes a really valuable player to winning in the NBA, and a dude that Steve Kerr is going to feel confident and trust in playing 20-plus minutes a night out there. So to me, like, Lindenborg, again, already a prominent option for Golden State with the 11th pick, just becomes like an absolute lock of a pick, assuming he's still there, which I think he's going to be. Like, recent mock drafts have him around the Warriors range, maybe going to the Thunder at 12. Some even have him going further back, like Charlotte have got the 15th pick or whatever it is. I'm pretty confident Yaxel Lindenborg is going to be available for the Warriors at 11. And if LeBron James signals a desire to join the Warriors, like, you're going to need a dude like that just to play big minutes in the regular season. And the other thing is, what better way for Yaxel Lindenborg to come in to the NBA than to be on a team with the two greatest players of the past 15 years and two of the greatest players of all time. A dude in LeBron who is very kind of, I don't want to compare Lindenborg to LeBron, but like, they do play a similar position and are a very similar size. So if there's a dude that you can learn from in the NBA, it's probably LeBron if you're Yaxel. And then being able to come in and play considerable minutes on a team with those two guys and a team that does have win now ambitions, I think that would actually be a perfect outcome for Yaxel Lindenborg. It might put the pressure on him, but guess what? Like, the dude has got plenty of collegiate experience. Okay, he's got plenty of pressure, leading the Wolverines to the national championship this year. Like, he should be made for that. And I think it would actually be a perfect scenario for him. And I just don't see the Warriors going the other way and saying, yeah, we're going to take an 18, 19-year-old dude who's going to take 2 years to develop. So as weird as it would be to say as LeBron is going to impact Golden State's draft plans, I know that sounds strange because LeBron's 41 years old, but it actually kind of should impact their draft plans and make a guy like Yaxel Lindenborg even more of an option for them at the 11th overall pick. The issue with this is the draft, and the first night of the draft is a week before free agency. So how does that work in that timeline? Because the Warriors are not going to have they're not going to be able to sign LeBron, obviously, before the draft. So, and if they've got some kind of strong indication that he will sign, well, that opens up a can of worms when it comes to potential investigations into, free agency tampering and stuff like that. If the Warriors, if Steph's had a minor call to LeBron and said, "You coming?" and LeBron gives him the wink, wink, nudge, nudge, yeah, I'm on my way. Steph lets Mike Dunleavy Jr. know that. Does Mike Dunleavy Jr. go and say, okay, now we're going to draft Yaxel Lindenborg because we know LeBron's on the way? Like, it seems all a bit iffy, but the timing of that is a bit problematic. And again, maybe it's as simple as the Warriors will just take the best available prospect. And maybe that's what you should do regardless with the 11th overall pick. Just take who you think is the best available prospect. Maybe someone falls that you didn't think would, that you thought was going to go top 8 or something like that. But I still think Axel Lindenborg is already a good option for the Warriors anyway, let alone if LeBron also comes. The other aspect in regards to the draft that I wanted to mention quickly is the Warriors also have the 54th overall pick. If LeBron James signs with the Warriors, and I know we're talking hypotheticals right now. We are talking hypotheticals, but guess what? This is the time to do it because we're weeks out from the draft and free agency. This is a time where Mike Dunleavy Jr. in the front office is going to have to go through all these different scenarios of, if we sign LeBron James, we need to do this, this, and this. Well, one of those things is thinking about trading for Bronny James. I know people will laugh. People start yelling at me for even considering this, but the Warriors would have to consider it because I've struggled to envisage a world in which LeBron James plays his final year in the NBA and Bronny James is on a different NBA team. I'm sorry, I just struggle to see that world where that exists. Okay, so if LeBron James signs with the Warriors, I'm assuming that Bronny James will also have to be on his way to the Warriors. Now, the cleanest thing would be the Lakers do the Warriors a massive favor and do LeBron and his camp a massive favor. And maybe LeBron holds so much power that they would actually do this for him. But could we just waive Bronny James and take the $2.3 million cap hit? He's contracted with the Lakers for next season for that $2.3 million. Can we just take the cap hit, please, and waive him and the Warriors can just sign him on a minimum deal or something? That'd be ideal. Not sure that would necessarily happen. The other aspect is just trade the 54th pick for Bronny James. Like, you might be able to find a dude that's better at the 54th pick, but if it means you're absolutely definitely going to get LeBron, then okay, cool. Trade for Bronny James and use the 54th pick. That's what I would be doing. There's not, like, the Warriors have, I think, only one other second round pick available to them in like 2030. And honestly, I don't want to be giving up what could be, let's say, a pick between 30 and 40 for Bronny James. At least with this pick, I know it's 54. He was a 55th pick 2 years ago. Hasn't really shown much to suggest that he's worth more than that, I suppose. So just trade the 54th pick. Again, the timing aspect comes down to this. The Warriors can't really trade for Bronny James on draft night because guess what? That'll tell everyone in the world that they're about to sign LeBron James. Guess what? The NBA will be like, what are you doing this for? Have you already got an indication from LeBron that he's going to sign? Well, guess what? Free agency tampering, we've still got a week out from from free agency starting. So, again, the timing of that, does that mean the Warriors have to draft a dude that they think the Lakers would want in a Bronny James trade? Do they have to trade the 54th pick for a future second round pick that might be like top 45 protected from another team? Maybe there's a team out there that likes a prospect at 54 and the Warriors can say, well, we need another pick between 45 and 60 in the future that then we could trade the Lakers for Bronny James. I don't know. I'm just throwing things out there because guess what? If the Warriors are seriously wanting to sign LeBron, well, they're going to seriously have to consider how they're going to trade for Bronny James if the Lakers aren't just going to waive him and let him walk to the Warriors with his father. Simple as that. All right, last thing here, free agency. Because I look at this and think, well, if LeBron signs with the Warriors, and let's say you also trade for Anthony Davis, and I put this out on Twitter, to me, that only solidifies 3/5 of your starting lineup. Steph at point, LeBron at the 3 or the 4 maybe, AD at the 5. Then what else are you doing around that? Draymond, to me, would not be a certified starter. I don't probably want him as a starter anyway, and particularly if LeBron and AD are on the team. Back to the bench you go. Pods, I don't think the Warriors need Pods as like versatility and like the extra ball handling and playmaking that he provides on a team that has Steph Curry and LeBron James starting. Like, sorry, they would need that. Like, he could be valuable, but they don't need that in the starting lineup, I don't think. Particularly, like, you got another offensive option there in AD. I'd probably be pushing Pods back to the bench in that scenario. Gee, is he enough of a knockdown shooter to play alongside LeBron and AD in a front court? I don't know. So to me, I'm like looking at those remaining 2 spots in the starting lineup. I'm thinking, I'm not sure the Warriors have got the dudes on the roster that can fill those roles in a way you really want. Like, I think Pods and Gee would probably be the 2, but like, they're still pretty inexperienced. They don't really feel like it feels to me that a team with Steph and LeBron and AD as that like core trio needs just defense and shooting everywhere else. and ideally at the younger end, right? Ideally guys in the middle of their career who are going to be 3-point snipers and can defend a little bit on the other end. So that to me, like the Warriors don't really have those guys on the roster. The only one I would say is close to that is Melton. Like I actually think Melton would be a pretty good fit playing next to Steph Curry, LeBron James, and let's say Anthony Davis, because I think Melton is a better 3-point shooter than the 29% he shot this season would suggest. I think he's just a better player than what we envisage and what his reputation probably is after his really disappointing end to the season where he played through injury. Like he's a better player than that. And maybe that form was so poor that he actually is forced to pick up his player option and return to the Warriors next season. And if that's the case, I think it's a great thing because I'd love DeAnthony Melton back on the Warriors for $3.5 million, back on the Warriors for like $9 or $10 million. And then I'm getting a bit iffy about it. But $3.5 million, that would be an incredibly team-friendly deal. And I think first full year off a torn ACL, I think he could be a really good fit playing next to Steph and LeBron. And the dude's still only 27, 28 years old as well. So should be coming into the prime of his career, albeit still not too far removed from a torn ACL. I do understand that. So I actually think DeAnthony Melton would be a really good option, but of course there's uncertainty over him with that player option. Therefore, the Warriors would have to target other guys in free agency and say, all right, we're handpicking you and you and you because we've just signed LeBron James and we are trying to build a contender for one last push for a title here with the two greatest players of the last 15 years. Oh, and we also just traded Jimmy Butler and a pick for Anthony Davis, something like that. So who are you handpicking in for agency to go out and target? Because that's going to be very alluring to free agents to say you get to play a considerable role, potentially a starting role alongside Steph, LeBron, and AD. Like that you should be able to go out and get some pretty decent, valuable role players just simply because of that and being able to offer just that experience more than anything. So who am I looking at here? Again, dudes that can defend, dudes that can knock down threes. A couple of guys in Milwaukee. Gary Trent Jr., 42% 3-point shooter on his career, has to be one where if he opts out, I think he's got a player option. If he opts out, if he's willing to say, all right, for one more year, I'm going to play on the minimum or something like that, then that's a dude you all of a sudden say, basically go to and say, if you have a reasonable training, we're not going to gift you the role, but if you have a good training camp, then you're a legitimate chance of starting at the 2 for us next season. Between Steph and LeBron. And just, you don't have to do anything on the ball. You just have to stand in the corners and the wings, let the gravity of those two blokes just take every defensive attention that they're going to be able to take throughout the season. You're going to get so many open looks. And therefore, this is a 1-year deal or whatever. You can go out and make more money again in free agency next year from another team. Taurean Prince, his teammate in Milwaukee and obviously a former teammate of LeBron James, 43.9% and 43.6% from 3-point range over the last 2 years. Only played 26 games this past season, so I think those numbers are a little bit deceiving. Like, I don't look at Taurean Prince and think this dude's like a 43% 3-point shooter. Again, the numbers would suggest he is over the last 2 years. His time with LeBron was up and down, it must be said. Again, he's a dude, though, who's got a little bit more size than Gary Trent Jr. Probably not the same quick trigger as Gary Trent Jr., but maybe a little bit better defensive. Offers a little bit more size. Can probably play like you could play a team with like let's say Melton's still on the team. Steph, Melton, Taurean Prince, LeBron, AD, something like that. Or maybe Draymond's in part of a closing lineup. I don't know. But that's another dude there who statistically is a great 3-point shooter and can offer a little bit defensively and who may again be open to that opportunity. I don't know what he feels about LeBron after playing with him at the Lakers. But, I mean, again, the experience of playing next to Steph Curry and LeBron James could be very enticing to a guy like that. A couple other dudes here. Let's go to Cleveland. Keon Ellis. He's an option for me. If Melton walks away from the Warriors in free agency, opts out of the player option, departs, Keon Ellis is probably a dude that I'd be interested in anyway. Maybe even more so if the Warriors sign LeBron. Again, another dude that you could put between Steph and LeBron and say, all right, don't really need you to dribble the ball. Although he has shown a little bit when it comes to that, but this is more of a 3-and-D guy again who has shot 40%, I think, from 40.7% from three-point range in his career. Was out of the Cavs rotation under Kenny Atkinson in the playoffs. But his time in Cleveland during the regular season was actually okay. Like, he averaged 8.3 points, 1.3 steals a game, nearly 3 rebounds, I think. Like, again, has a bit more size at the guard position, can shoot it a little bit, can obviously defend. That's a dude who you could go to and say, you know what, you're coming off a poor playoff campaign where you barely played. He averaged like 7 minutes in the playoffs and had like 16 MPs during that for Cleveland. You're not going to get your payday this summer, but we can put you in a role and a position next season where you can play considerable minutes and be on a playoff contending team, a team that hopefully wants to go deep. And then again, you earn your money next year. That would basically be the offer to him. Again, minimum contract or pretty low deal, but maybe it's enticing to a young player, just 26 years old, 4 years into the league, to really try and boost his value next season. Dean Wade, sounds like the Cavs are going to prioritize his free agency over Keon Ellis, and that I'm assuming Dean Wade will remain in Cleveland, but he's the kind of dude at like 6'8", who doesn't need the ball in his hands, who can defend a little bit and shoot a little bit. Kind of be a perfect guy for the Warriors, but I expect him to stay in Cleveland. He probably wouldn't be in the Warriors price range. Anyway, Matisse Thybulle is an interesting one because we know Matisse has been I've got a bit of a soft spot for him because he's Australian to some degree. He has played for the Boomers previously. So I've always kind of followed his career. His injury issues have been problematic in the last couple of years, and that wouldn't be ideal obviously for the Warriors and their aging veteran team. But the dude has shot 43.8% and 39.8% from three-point range in the last 2 years. So his three-point shooting numbers have been up, in Portland compared to his time in Philadelphia, where he was a great, like one of the league's best defenders. I think he earned like all NBA defensive selection 1 year, despite averaging like 20 minutes a game, which just goes to show you how good he was defensively. And I still think he can be that good defensively. Offensively, it's like, okay, the numbers are there in terms of the improvement. Again, 43.8% and 39.8%, but you've only played 45 games over the past 2 years. And a defense is really closing out to you? Probably not. And so that's to me like, okay, if Melton walks and Gary Payton II gets a better deal elsewhere and you can get Matisse Thybulle on the minimum, then sure, like that's a guy that you might have interest in as a defensive guy, size, can basically guard 1 through 4, you would say, in today's NBA, but unfortunately does have injury concerns, which again is why you might be able to get him on a minimum contract in such a scenario. So that's what I'm looking at. I've just thrown 5 names out there, plus just the idea of keeping Melton, hopefully, if he opts into his $3.5 million player option. Let me know, are there any other free agency guys you are looking at that maybe make sense for the Warriors anyway, but even more so come into the equation if the Warriors manage to sign LeBron James in free agency? Because again, with all this stuff, whether it be trading Jimmy, whether it be trading for Bronny, whether it be using the 11th overall pick, whether it be the free agency targets you're looking at, like the Warriors have to have so many scenarios in play here if they are serious about trading for LeBron. Because as Stevie and I discussed, this is not a team that, you sign LeBron James and you instantly become a championship contender. It just isn't. It's maybe you're at best the 6th seed in the West. So what else are you going to do to bridge the gap a little bit between yourself and the teams like the Spurs and the Thunder at the top of the West, and giving yourself some kind of puncher's chance come playoff time? Let me know what you've made of anything I've spoken about there, whether it be swapping Jimmy for AD, Bronny, lend the ball with the 11th pick, for agency targets, whatever it may be. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel already, that would be greatly appreciated. You can follow me at POC252, that's POK252 on X/Twitter, Golden State with Mates on Instagram and TikTok as well. And I'll see you on the next episode.